I think one of the things is the actual layout of the book.
Yeah.
It totally mirrors what we espouse in the work and writing curriculum. I have had so many people go, oh my gosh, the way you laid it out in episodes, the sort of episodic nature and the visualization and the icons, I really was engaged. I really followed the story of the book, and it kept kind of resonating with what you're asking us to think about and doing it with learners. I would say that's one of the first. How about you?
That's fascinating. So first of all, Heidi took mine. So
well,
I know that's the danger of you going first.
Yeah, but, there you go.
So one of the things I think a big takeaway that I'm seeing is the power of authentic assessments. So the opportunity to step back and imagine what might be a meaningful opportunity to dive deep. So it's interesting because as teachers are starting to design, buckets or territories for the curriculum and the curriculum flow, I've been asking them to take a look at the long view and consider where might be a moment for authentic assessment. So the authentic assessment episode in episode 7, but also the opportunity to see that those small moments, when you're starting to think about them, start to transform the types of learning targets that teachers are also interested in designing in service to the level of action, creation, and investigation.
Let me add one thing to that, because I think that is a good one. The thing I've also heard people comment about is something we talked about over the years of putting the book together, and that is wrapping our heads operationally about what authenticity actually looks like.
Yeah.
Because it's an easy word to throw around. And what's the opposite of authentic? Phony? Phony assessment. But the difference between a real opportunity in the life of a child or a young person to use what they're learning in an actual context or situation for people outside of the classroom, I think that has been a very big takeaway. Yeah.
And it's also interesting too, because it's not just the authentic context or authentic issues, but authentic formats.
That's right.
So we started to play around in the book around, so what are authentic formats that continue to be not just powerful as communication tools, but that students can actually begin to look at them and study them as examples or models. Mm-hmm. So it's not something that just comes from another grade 2 class, or the teacher is pretending to write like a 6-year-old or a 16-year-old. It's the opportunity to see what it looks like in professional circles, in the lives of the world outside of school, so that continues to be something that not only is designed in that way, they're not just mimicking the experience, and has an opportunity to then go out and share out in the outside world.
Let me take a beat here, and let me just suggest something else. Okay. Another takeaway that hits me all the time when I'm working with teachers and they light up is that they have agency. Yeah. That you can be handed a set, paced, scripted curriculum, but you still have to deliver the goods to real kids. And I think what we tried to do was to walk through what some of those creative writing nuances are, so you can massage a program and convert it into something more accessible, palatable, engaging for your actual students, and what that looks like. And I think that's a big one, because one of the big messages is if the kids don't know what the story is in the curriculum, they don't know what they're doing. They just show up at school. So it's that combination of agency for genuine student awareness that I think has been another big takeaway.
And one of the other interesting things, it's definitely clear in the book, but it's also even clearer as we're starting to help coach and help folks edit their curriculum storyboards. It's the opportunity for accessible language.
Yeah.
So the opportunity to step back and say, who is this written for? But also starting to think about, how do we make it as clear and coherent and compelling as possible? Those are our 3 C's.
I like that.
Clear, coherent, and compelling. Because I think that's the idea, is that sometimes when you draft, multi-paragraph pieces and try to fit into the focus of the story box. But when you start to condense the language, sometimes to condense it means that you are making it more bloated from a sentence structure point of view. You're starting to think about your audience. We found that writing for early childhood, that you write like staccato sentences. They're short, they're sweet, and they're designed to have a lilt to them that makes it so that even if it's read aloud to them by the adult, it's something that students can engage and process and get energized about. So just because the students are older doesn't mean that we're losing that level of conversation. Dare I say, I was talking and sharing some examples with you today. You start to see a lilt, like there has a playful bent associated with it. And again, we're working with some very difficult curriculum content, very sophisticated curriculum content, but it still can actually have that playful note to continue to get your audience sort of held in that conversation.
I'm just reminded of a mentor I had. It just hit me right now. When I was first teaching many years ago, who said that if you end up teaching older students, high school and middle school, because I had the good opportunity of teaching all those different levels, including in elementary, if you can take whatever the concept is you're teaching and translate it into the language of a first grader with clarity, not dumbing it down. First graders are smart, but clarifying it with simplicity, you really have got an elegance to it, and they'll understand it. That has come back to haunt me sometimes, that if I can't make something crystal clear, or even if it's muddy, I can say, this isn't clear, but we're going to try. Then, in fact, if I can't do that, I can't engage them. The act of thinking through the language, not making it simplistic, but clearer, simplifying, is a gesture to reach out to your students, so you're in it together.
Yeah, I'm also, as you're starting to describe that, the notion of streamlining,
Yes.
right in the beginning of our first episode, the opportunity to think about, it's not just streamlining for topics, it's also streamlining language to make it more functional, but also to have that level of form that people sort of lean in and get energized and excited about. So
That was good.
those are our biggest takeaways.